Video gaming is about to change forever. My name is Right as Rain. Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk about the current state of video games and the theoretical cliff we're heading towards. So if you're like me and you check your phone every day and you're in the gaming circles of like Reddit and Twitter, you're probably seeing negative news almost every day now. And despite the huge wins, which I do want to talk about later in the video, there are obvious negatives that are happening in the community that need to be addressed. Now let me take you back on memory lane a little bit. Back when the new generation started, the Series X and the PS5 released, we were introduced to $70 video games. They said, hey, we're bumping up to a new generation, so then we're going to up the prices of video games. So we went from $60 to $70. Almost all my life, I spent $60 on video games. And now games like 2K, Madden, FIFA, all these games that weren't deserving of a $70 upgrade were getting $70 upgrades. And then as the years went by, now almost every game that comes out is $70. Now back when that occurred, I could see a justification as to why we're going to $70 games now. The PS5 and the Series X were supposed to be this new generation of console gaming that was going to be a step beyond what we were at before. And games were about to step up with it. Now, unfortunately, 5 years later, since the original price hike to $70, most games that come out at that price point, I feel aren't justified to be at that price point. For example, some of the best games that have come out in recent memory, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, Expedition 33, which just came out this year. These games are all $60 and under. And not to mention the game of the year last year, Astro Bot, it's only a $50 game. So some of the best games that have come out since the new generation have been under $70. But now, just 5 years later, and still in the same generation of consoles, we're going to start seeing a price hike in video games to the $80 mark. Meaning most AAA games that are going to be coming out from here on out are going to be $80. And with the current state of the economy and also the current quality and AAA games that have been coming out recently, you'll be hard pressed to say that any of these games deserve to be $80. And you know what the problem is the video game companies know we're going to eat that stuff up like slop, bro. So much so that they're even going to say it to our face. Look at what the Gearbox Chief said, Randy Pitchford said. He said, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. When talking about Borderlands 4 costing $80. What a slap in the face. Look at the top comment. This guy's the freaking worst. The head honchos of these companies don't seem to care about gamers. To the point where they're just going to say, yeah, I know you guys are really going to just buy this up. It don't matter. And in this article by IGN, just to kind of put the whole quote into context, Randy Pitchford says, this is not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working at minimum wage at Ice Cream Parlor, and I found a way to make it happen. Randy, this isn't the 90s anymore. We are in a different era of games. We have an expectation of games that it wasn't there back in the 90s. Gaming is as much of an experience now as watching TV or going to the movies is. It's literally, if anything, it's a greater level of entertainment. Back in the 90s, gaming was just starting. Now, anybody you talk to is a gamer. And not just for any AAA game is this comment just absolutely ridiculous, but for Borderlands in particular, coming off of last year where the Borderlands movie just completely bombed, that movie was trash. I sat in that theater, literally, me and my friends were by ourselves in that theater watching it, and it was horrible. And Borderlands 3 being a lackluster third sequel to the game, and Tiny Tina's not performing as well either. Borderlands is a far cry from where it was back in the day when Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 came out. These were just peak looter shooter genre video games. And to kind of have the CEO of the company talking to gamers like Borderlands is this like The Last of Us or God of War, this game that's heralded to this level that, hey, yeah, if you love the company, you'll pay $80. You gamers will eat this up like slop, bro. We change it to whatever. It doesn't matter what price it is. You guys will eat it up. And I don't want to say that he's entirely false in that statement, because there's going to be plenty of people who buy it for $80. And that's okay. If that's a game, if you love Borderlands and that's what you want to do, then do that. I'm not going to judge I'm not going to judge anyone for buying it for $80, especially if it's a game you love. What I am going to judge is the decisions of these people, in these corporate offices who barely even play video games themselves, determining that we need to be upping prices on games despite unanimously throughout AAA games in the past few years, a decrease in quality. And unsurprisingly, this whole trend started as a result of the Switch 2 release and Nintendo boldly announcing that Mario Kart will cost $80. Not only are they charging more for games, Nintendo also announced that they're not going to be having physical release of their games. And if you buy a cartridge, it is basically a key that allows you to download the game digitally online. So even if you own a cartridge, you don't even own a copy of the game. We're moving towards a dystopian reality with video games where you're not gonna even have an opportunity to own the game. It's just gonna be licensing. And I'm a big I like to buy digital games. I like to buy games online. I've done it since the Xbox One days, you know? It makes life a lot easier, but I understand there's privilege to knowing that you have the ability to go out, buy a game, and just hold on to it and boot it up whenever. I have a Nintendo 64 with Majora's Mask and Mario 64. I could just plug in my Nintendo 64 and play that whenever I want. Same with my GameCube. I have a bunch of GameCube games. I can plug that in, play those games whenever I want. Shoot, my children are going to be raised in a world where if you don't have an access to internet, you're not going to be able to play your games. You're not going to be able to own anything anymore. We're shifting into a state of the world where it makes these corporations that run these AAA game companies so cocky, knowing that we can just raise the prices on this stuff and we're still going to get sales and we're still going to hit our profit margins, right? What it feels like is we're getting, big dicked on by these corporations because they know that they have the sauce. They have what we want. They have these video games that we all want to play. And Borderlands 4 might not be the best example of it. Shoot, Mario Kart might not be the best example of it. But I know plenty of people who want to play Mario Kart and who want to play Borderlands 4. But they're like, well, I don't have any other choice. I have to spend $80 or I have to wait a year and hope it goes on sale. There is still light at the end of the tunnel. We have had some of the most amazing releases in the past few years of games that just care about gaming. Developers that create an experience catered towards people that love to play games. And it's not full of greed, like 2K, like Borderlands or the Gearbox CEO was showing. I mean, most recently we have Expedition 33, which hit 2 million copies sold in just 12 days. And it's a small indie company, former Ubisoft employees, that came and created this game and sold it for $50, $40 on release because it was on sale. Right now, this is a front runner to winning Game of the Year. Same goes for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, another game that came out this year, made by devs that are so passionate about the game and passionate about the history. I personally played through this game. It sold 3 million copies within the first 3 months of its release. And that's a game that was at $60. A normal gaming price. So despite the doom and gloom that we see from greedy publishing companies that want to sell their games for $80, despite the state of the economy, despite the opinion of gamers on the price increases and how much everyone hates it, there are still developers that care and make products that matter and that are culturally shifting gaming. And I think that's what's important. That's what's going to leave a lasting impact. Developers that love the game they're making will go a lot farther than developers or corporations that are trying to push profit margins by using a popular IP and not giving a crap about what they're doing with it. And I'll end this video on this one last point. There's this black sheep of this whole conversation that we don't know anything about, and that's GTA 6. GTA 6 has announced a release date. It'll be next May 26th, and they have not announced a price point for the game. And GTA 6 is the most hyped release in gaming history, and I've seen people make absurd statements saying they'll pay $150 for that game on release. Here's hoping Rockstar doesn't push corporate greed in the face of gamers and charge upwards to $100, $120 for GTA 6. I'm hoping at the very most it's an $80 release, because knowing Rockstar and their pursuit of greatness with every video game, I guess if the climate says $80 is the price tag to be at, then I don't know anyone who would say they wouldn't shill that out for GTA 6. Anyways, I think it's an important topic to talk about. I love video games, and even I will just say screw it and spend $80 on a game probably, right? I'll look like a big hypocrite, but it's something I love to do. It's my favorite passion. So let me know what you guys think. I'm actually really curious to see what other gamers think on this issue. Do you care that the game will be $10 more at $80 price point? Or is it something that's actually going to make you not spend money on video games in the future? You guys actually going to go out and vote with your wallet? Let me know down below. I'm actually very curious to hear. And please subscribe for more. I'll be posting a lot more lately. So I'd love to see you guys keep coming around for more. All right. Have a good one.